Hey guys, so with the introduction of the latest balance changes, I've been getting quite a lot of success with 3.0 Xbow Cycle. I've been focusing mostly on the trophy road. As you can see, I'm closing to 7.5k trophies, and I still have a long way to go to 9k trophies, the legendary arena. And I'm on League 7 on the path of legends. And yeah, I do plan on pushing to Ultimate Champion this season. There's quite a lot of time left. But yeah, as I was telling you about 3.0 Xbow, I'm going to show you my battle log. And yes, you can see, like, even though all of these can be a difficult matchup, like, yeah, I got one defeat back then against Lava Loon. Like, that was honestly my mistake. So this is probably going to be a guide for all of you on how to play 3.0 Xbow, where I'm going to examine all these mid-ladder matches for all of you and point out where my mistakes were or what I did correct. So hopefully all of you can learn from them. And with that, let's just get on with the first replay. I got the idea for this video honestly, like, if you guys follow SK555, SK Gaming, that is, he also plays 3.0 Xbow, and he recently made an Xbow guide where essentially he was analyzing his own replay. And this is essentially what I believe all of you need to do to essentially become better at this game, is to go back to your replays and analyze where essentially you did something wrong or what you did right. And now coming to this match, as you guys can see, this guy's playing a very mid-ladder deck with the Mega Knight, Valkyrie, Hog. I think that's an Evo Firecracker, and yeah, guards and Dart Goblin. And I'm pretty sure all of you guys must be facing similar kinds of deck wherever you are in the game. And yeah, like, you can see this guy is not very good in the game, as he let his Dart Goblin walk in front of his Valkyrie. And I honestly just need to keep my Tesla and my login cycle for his Hog and Goblin barrel. I did allow his Valkyrie to connect twice on my tower, but I was just saving up Elixir because I wanted to go Xbow. And yeah, I just went Xbow the same time he went guards and Hog. And I'm again going to sack some damage with the Hog Rider because I did get quite a nice Xbow connection, which I felt was the right thing to do at that point of time, because again, you guys can see he has a Mega Knight and Valkyrie and guards also, which is also, and this time I don't have login cycle, so it's a very good play to just fireball out his Goblin barrel as well. And you can see, like, I just let the Hog Rider go on the right side and I almost got his entire tower, because essentially in these kinds of matchup I feel I'm probably playing a bit better on mid ladder after I'm playing it a bit more aggressively all these matchups, and like essentially holding on to my Xbow lock, especially when I'm getting quite a healthy Xbow lock. And now I have my Tesla in cycle for his Hog Rider. I'm just going to place my Evo skeletons down as well, because otherwise I don't really want him to get more damage, because essentially, as I told you guys, I've got the damage that I need on his left side tower, so I essentially need to defend the entire game. And this is another play I like to make, is essentially go for defensive Xbows. And I'm going to log his, my log was although my log was quite late, and the archers were also quite bad on my side. So yeah, this is what I was telling you guys about. So I also went with my Tesla on this side because I thought he was going to predict with something like Dart Goblin or the Firecracker, but thank God he did not. But still, even though he did, I played my Tesla on this side, and I'm just going to take that. Honestly, that was a very good log from my side, and I'm just going to fireball out his Goblin barrel as well. And with just 5 seconds left in the match, I am pretty sure he can't really break through. And even though he has his Evo Firecracker, I just needed to log for the win. So it was a pretty controlled game, I would say, overall. On to our next match. This video is probably going to be a long one because I did record a lot of mid-ladder gameplay for you guys to essentially help you with whatever match you might face up on mid-ladder. And if you guys learned something from it or do enjoy this video, consider liking and subscribing to my channel, and do share this video to your clan members as well, because yeah, they also need to learn how to be better at mid ladder. And as you guys can see, this guy has Ebarb and triple small spells. I'm just going to log off his Ebarbs and get some chip damage on his left side tower, because I don't like to leak essentially while playing a cycle deck. And Ice Spirit Archer to counter the Ebarbs. Like, Ebarbs aren't really the difficult part essentially, I feel like, because you can easily counter them and kite them around and your towers will just finish it. And after a successful defense, I'll go for an Xbow, because as I told you guys, I'm finding a lot of success playing Xbow quite offensively in on mid ladder current in the current meta. So I mean, he zaps my Xbow, but my Xbow is, I'm honestly okay with my Xbow taking out his wizard, and I just logged 2 because to get some extra chip damage on the tower. And as you can see, like just 1 minute into the game, I already have a huge damage advantage. And this guy, also another thing which most of the time MIDLADDER players do on their deck, they don't have big spells. So I again like to play with defensive Xbows, which I'll do right now, because yeah, they can't really take out my Xbow and it's going to just sit there, and they have to essentially play into my Xbow, because again, all the mid ladder players essentially just like to spam the bridge. Like this guy just goes Pekka one lane and Ebarbs on the other lane. And my Evo skeletons, although they did stall out the Ebarbs for a while, but they did die off. And honestly, getting value from Evo skeletons in this match could be difficult because he has 3 small spells, but I'm pretty sure we'll be able to do something or the other with our evolutions. So I'm again going to split archers at the back. That's one of my favorite plays, and set up with another defensive Xbow. Like, that's the magic of essentially getting a big lock in during single Elixir, is that you can defend the rest of the game. And I thought he was going to place his miner on my princess tower, so I predicted it with the skeleton, but he went for the Xbow as well, which probably props to him. It was probably a decent enough play. And yeah, I'm just going to set up with another defensive Xbow. Like I would have probably cut this game, but I wanted to show you guys essentially how to defend, because I did face this problem myself. Essentially, I used to be up in damage but then completely screw up. Like, see, this is what I was talking about. The wizard locked on to the left, the E-barb locked onto the right tower, and he did get a lot of damage on both sides, but he did overcome it a lot. So I'm going to pressure with another Xbow, and yeah, he has to go for his Pekka as well. I'm going to continue protecting my Xbow, and yeah, the Pekka is dead and my Xbow locks onto the tower, and doesn't matter if he plays the XC because he already played his zap, and that's again going to be a very easy and controlled game. On to the next replay. I hope you guys understood essentially how your gameplay should look like from the last replay. Essentially, an Xbow is a punish deck where you don't need to constantly keep on pressuring with your Xbows. You just need 1 or 2 locks in the entire game to win you the match. The rest of the time, you not just have to defend but control your entire opponent and their plays. And thankfully, my king tower got activated by the Firecracker. I did not know that was a play I could do, like archers in that position. And I'm going to play offensive Xbow to just see what he played, because he played his XZ in the back, and that's 5 elixirs. So whatever he plays, he'll be spread thin. So essentially, this is what I meant about controlling the entire game. The Mega Knight doesn't jump, which is a good thing for us. And now we know a bit more about his deck. We are almost even on Elixir, and I'm just going to wait for him. Depending on what he does, I'm going to respond, but if he just decides to leak, I'm just going to play archers at the back. But yeah, since he played his hog and he did not have my Tesla in cycle, I will take some damage from the hog, like 1 shot, but I did counter it pretty well, I think. And I have my knight walking down at the lane. He has to spend his mini Pekka, and now you guys can see I'm up 4 elixir. Well, I'll probably be up and I missed the kite on the mini Pekka. That was very horrendous for me, so I had to go with my Evo skeletons. Evo skeletons, guys, I feel I don't really play them as a cycle card. I try to hold them as much as I can to get the maximum value, and since he went with his executioner on my Evo skeletons, I could get an easy Xbow lock, because again I was up a lot of elixir to begin with, as I mentioned earlier. So yeah, I have my knight and archer pushing on one lane, and he does have his Evo Firecracker, and honestly that card is very annoying. Whenever I see that card, I just like to fireball it. Like, even right now I could have countered it with just a log and skeletons, but I just decided to fireball it, because if you wanted to protect the Evo Firecracker, it would have been quite annoying for me. He again went with Mega Knight. I don't know, that was a very bad play for him. Like, you never essentially go Mega Knight just like that. You always have to use Mega Knight on counter push if you're using it. So I pressured with Xbow opposite lane, so yeah, he can't really support his Mega Knight. And look, just look at it, we are controlling the entire game. This is essentially what I was talking about. And I'm again going to pressure him with the Xbow, and I did not know he had an Inferno tower, because this is probably the first time he played it, so well, props to him. But yeah, even though we essentially got no damage from that Xbow, we are almost even on Elixir. And I'm going to split my archers again and cycle my skeletons for the mini Pekka and just get back. This time I'm going to leak a bit of Elixir, because yeah, I did not want my knight to just get shredded, so I waited a bit to play the knight. And yeah, he goes for hog on my Xbow, which I'm just going to respond with another archers, because hog would get a shot otherwise, and the firecracker does get a shot. That was probably not very good for me. And since he went for a preemptive Inferno tower, I'm just going to fireball his tower, because yeah, that's just 5 elixir just sitting there, and it's not going to do anything for him. I can just set up with another defensive Xbow. Like I told you guys, I like to go with defensive Xbow when I have a huge damage advantage after single elixir, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. And he should have gone with a lot of pressure, but he just decided to waste 5 elixir on his Inferno tower. And again, the Evo Firecracker comes down. I just will fireball it again, and the Mega Knight does connect to my tower, which could be which could be quite sketchy. It got my tower down significantly, so that was a misplay I should not have made. And I'm again going to set up with a defensive Xbow, but he decided to fireball cycle me out. But again, honestly guys, this is the point of running a fast cycle deck, is I can easily cycle 2 fireballs way earlier than he can. And even though he went for a earlier fireball, I could just easily cycle 2 fireballs because of my cheap cycle, and that's how we win games with this deck. I still make a lot of misplays, guys, as you saw in the last match, which honestly I need to fix if I need to honestly be better at this game. And okay, another card which I like to just fireball off from the bat is Flying Machine. Like I honestly am very bad at catching flying machines with my cards. I'm trying to learn it, but honestly, whenever I have just fireball in cycle, I just like to take this out. And yeah, this guy is running Lava Hound, and honestly Lava Hound is a pretty free match for us, but I massively screw this game up, and I'll show you guys how. I was winning for almost all of it, but then one misplay essentially cost me the entire game. And yeah, I'm just I sort of understand he has Lava Hound, so I'm just pressuring with my Xbow. And yeah, he's not getting enough chance to go lava at the back, and that's essentially what you want in the game. And I'm up almost 3 elixir, which is again a very good thing against beatdown. Like essentially the beatdown players mentality and their strategy is to sack damage for elixir advantage and then build up a huge push, which essentially what you need to counter. Like you cannot let them build a huge push. So I'm just going to pressure with Xbow again, and yeah, he misses his tombstone and we get a huge Xbow lock. And I will almost get his tower in this with this Xbow, and he just decides to spend a lot of elixir defending my Xbow. So I'm just going to set a Tesla in the middle to essentially counter all of this. But essentially this is the misplay I was talking about, guys. Like I should have just fireballed out the flying machine right then and there, because yeah, I did not do that. So that's why the flying machine locked on the miner tank for the skeletons, and that's going to be so much of damage. So in hindsight, guys, this is why I really love to fireball. I mean, I had to fireball the flying machine, but it honestly it just cost me the game at that point of time. And I have to knight for the skelly drags because I can't let them go. I'm already down so much of damage, and he knows. And like, look at this guy, he's up so much of elixir, but he's still leaking so much. And I'm just going to go Xbow opposite lane, because yeah, I need my damage back and I need to get something going. And yeah, there's the flying machine again. I just Tesla to snipe it out, because I did not want to fireball it again, because I know he had the skelly drags and he played the flying machine in the opposite lane. So yeah, I split my Evo skellies, and as soon as he went for his lava, I went Xbow opposite lane to hopefully get some damage, log out his tombstone and his skellies, and protect my Xbow. Because honestly this was the only way I was going to win this game is essentially taking the tower right here and right now. But honestly, he just got very good arrows, and arrows for him was definitely very difficult for me to deal with, because he could just fully counter my archers, which are essentially one of the only two air targeting damage, and I missed the catch on the miner as well. And yeah, as you can see, that one mistake of not fireballing out the flying machine cost me the entire game, as I still go for a last ditch effort of going Xbow, but yeah, he just got another valuable archers, and there's the miner on my tower. And yeah, that was really, it was a really sad thing, because I did get a lot of damage to begin with, and I honestly just needed to defend nicely, which I sadly could not, and he just arrowed to finish my tower. Okay, on to the next match against E-Giant Lightning. And again, E-Giant Lightning is a meta deck, but this guy just has Goblin Barrel. I don't know for what reason, because of course it's mid ladder. So split archers at the back, that's honestly one of the very uh, few plays which I love to make with this deck. And he just goes E-Giant, and at this point of time I know I can't really save my Xbow. Like, this is one thing you guys need to understand, you can't always overcome it on defending your Xbows. And I honestly could have placed my Tesla a bit down to activate my king from the Firecracker, but not the end of the world, I can get the king activation some other time throughout the game. And I'm just going to wait. I think he goes for the Goblin Barrel, but I'm just going to go Ice Spirit to cycle on the right hand side. And yeah, since he has damage on the left hand side, I need to go opposite lane. There's the Goblin Barrel, lock that away. And I know his E-Giant isn't in cycle, so I just pressure with the Xbow, because I need to know what else he has. So I find out he has Valk and Bomb Tower, and probably going knight was a bit overcommitting, but on at least the Valk, and he also had to play his guard, so we are up almost even on Elixir. And I'm again going to reset with archers at the back, guys. Like, that's a very safe play for all of you guys to do, because honestly there is one archer in every lane, and you can honestly just counter push with any one of them, or whatever they play, it can just one archer can defend against it. I mean, honestly, one archer doesn't feel like much, but when you actually parry it with an ice spirit or skeleton, it can put some crazy amount of DPS. And yeah, I just went Xbow even though he had E-Giant in cycle, because I had my Evo Skellies, and I completely missed the Goblin Barrel there with my log. I honestly cannot really catch the Goblin Barrels. I need to be better at that. I need to learn it better. But yeah, okay. Now this time I knew he did not have anything in cycle, so he just had to go lightning, and he just lightning my Xbow and my knight, and he did not lightning my tower. So that was a dub for me. So I'm again going to cycle my skeletons, get back to another of my Evo skeletons, and he just goes E-Giant at the bridge, which was a very weird play. I'm just going to go Tesla, which is hopefully going to defend all of that, and again just fireball out his Evo Firecracker, and he again played the Valk at the bridge, but my knight is already still alive, so I can just yeah, counter the Valk and uh, pressure with Xbow opposite lane. He had to commit to his lightning, but still my Xbow is alive and got a decent bit of chip damage, and my knight is on the tower, and that will probably get like 4 hits. And yeah, I knew he was low on Elixir, and so I pressured with the archers at the bridge, because yeah, he's an E-Giant player, guys, and E-Giant players don't really like to defend stuff like Ice Spirit or archers. But I guess this guy also gave up, but of course I did not know it at that point of time. So I again, since I have a comfortable damage advantage, I set up with a defensive Xbow, knight at the back, and at this point of time I understood this guy has just given up, so I just went Evo Skellies to essentially 3 round this guy, and I'm just going to 2x the entire rest of the match, because yeah, otherwise it will be just boring. And I'll see you guys in the next match. Alright, we are up against an E-Golem deck, E-Golem, Mega Knight, Hog Rider, Valk. Like, honestly, you might think this is impossible for me to break through, and honestly, it would have been, but let's look at this guy. This just went Golem first play at the bridge. Like, I don't know how he thought that would work, and he just fireballed my Tesla. He could have hit my tower, but well, he chose to just fireball it, and I just go Skellies to mitigate some of the damage, and I do leak a bit, but I go with my Xbow to see what else he has. He has the Inferno towers, and thankfully I had my Ice Spirit down to catch it, and the Inferno tower is not going to get any value, and my Xbow locked on, and honestly that is enough for me to win the game. And I get around to, I guess, somewhere around 2k damage, and honestly that was enough for me to win the game, because now I just need to full defend whatever he throws at me. And honestly, defending these mid ladder menaces is not that difficult when you know what you're doing. But he went for Hog. I do not have my Tesla in Cycle, so I'll just go with my Knight and Ice Spirit. I could have logged as well, but I did not want to overcommit on the Hog, because yeah, I'm already down. As you can see, I'm already down 4 Elixir. But he did have to play a Witch on my Knight, so we are a bit even. So I'm going to go with my Xbow, because and guys, notice the placement of the Xbow. This is an anti-fireball placement, because you do not want to give him value with Xbow and the tower. And I just wait for his Witch to lock on to my tower, then I went with Evo Skellies. And honestly, I did not expect him to get my tower. I expected my Evo Skeletons to do a lot more work, but since he got my tower, I have to go Xbow opposite lane. And yeah, with my Ice Spirit supporting it, because I knew he had his Inferno tower in Cycle. And I don't know why he just chose not to play anything on my Xbow, which was a great mistake of his, guys. And sorry, as I was saying, you need to be aware that all these mid ladder guys, they never essentially know how to play well. They don't know how to essentially counter, and you need to take advantage of all of that. So fireball out his Witch, get some of the tower damage as well, and now I just need to log out his Witch and take the tower as well, and low Tesla like this for the Golem blobs, because if they go unnoticed, they really do a huge amount of damage. And honestly, being in this position with Xbow is not a good thing, because yeah, being one tower down, especially the opposite tower, it can be very skeptic. And I honestly just quit the game whenever I go one tower down. But I wasn't about to give up a game against an E-Golem player, because well, he's playing E-Golem. Like, I know I can, if I play well from now on, I can definitely make a comeback. So I was really banking on getting a huge Xbow lock, but I knew that was not going to be possible. But since I already had a huge damage advantage from single Elixir, I knew I just had to make him spend a lot of Elixir and not really catch up in damage. So I had to honestly just constantly keep on pressuring with Xbow, because if I don't pressure him with Xbow, he will build up a huge push, which I definitely won't be able to counter. So I'm just going to go Xbow in the middle like this as much as I can, because at least he won't be able to place his cards on both sides of my Xbow, and I know which side he might place his card. So yeah, I again have no Tesla in Cycle, so I Spirit Archers to fully counter the Hog, and Tesla like this for the E-Golem. Again, that's not a very good E-Golem. Like, E-Golem just by itself doesn't really do much, and I am making this guy spam everything in the pocket. Like, that's not what he's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to go like MK at the back or E-Golem at the back, Witch at the back, and build a huge push. But I am constantly making him spend Elixir on my Xbows at the pocket. And this time the Hog just, I don't know, it's a weird play the Hog does sometimes, where it just bypasses my Tesla, and that was a good fireball value to this guy. But I honestly catch his Inferno tower, and I knew this had to be where I essentially won the game, because it's just 30 seconds and I am still approximately 1200 damage up. So I knew I just have to defend and just throw a couple of fireballs. I'll just throw one fireball just to be safe. And yeah, it's 10 seconds and he just realized he's down like 1k damage and he can't really come back. I defensive Xbow for whatever he's about to play, and definitely BM this guy. Like, you guys saw how he was playing, and I felt very proud winning this matchup when I was one tower down. So I hope you guys get some tips and tricks to beat E-Golem players. Okay, against this guy, he is also playing a very, like, all of these decks I'm going up against, you guys can see, are very mid-laddery decks. Like, none of them are playing a proper meta deck, and that's why sometimes it can also feel like they are hard countering you, because yeah, just look at this guy. He has a hog, he has ebarbs, he has valk and everything for my Xbow. But honestly, I still feel it's my matchup, because I mean, as I was saying about the ebarbs, it's so easy for me to kill them, and just Tesla like this to make sure it targets on the hog and not the ebarbs. That's a very imperative thing to do. And against ebarb guys, always kite them towards the middle. And since he expended so much of elixir, I am just pressuring with my Xbow and log off his goblin gang and just let my Xbow die. Like, that's probably a mini Xbow lock, I would say, or as SK would say. And yeah, we are up even on Elixir, and I know a bit more about his deck, like especially in mid ladder, since you never really know what your opponent might have. You have to focus on essentially getting to know what your opponent has in their decks. And I know he has a Valkyrie and he just cycled it at the back. So honestly, if I would have had my Xbow in cycle, I would have definitely loved to Expo. And he gave me a very good fireball value with the Valk and killing the Firecracker and Bomber. So I essentially took that, and I this time I have my test line cycle for the Hog. I'm just going to play it. And again, guys, he does not have a big spell, and he is a very spammy type of player. So Tesla in the middle is always an excellent play. And again, you also need to be defending it. Like, I went Tesla for the hog, but since it's still alive, he can't really spam at the bridge. Like, you can see he's ready with his ebarbs, but he couldn't really go in. So I honestly just placed a defensive Xbow down, because I know he has his valk and ebarbs in cycle. So I knew he could easily counter my offensive Xbow, so I just played one defensively. And yeah, he's just wasting elixir because of that, and he honestly had to play a Valk. So I just placed my high Tesla. I'm preparing for Xbow at the bridge. So like, I have an Xbow, I have a Tesla, and I have a knight and one archer. And yeah, my Xbow also locks on. I fireball out his minions with one of his ebarbs, and yeah, that's essentially just game. That's all I had to do. And yeah, you have to play a bit defensively at times. Like, you again, that sort of comes with practice, with a lot of practice. And yeah, Tesla like this, I honestly should have placed it again one tile lower to activate my king of the firecracker, but it's just game, I don't really need to do that. And yeah, he couldn't really do anything with his ebarbs and valkyrie and all of that. Okay, on to my next match. This is essentially the closest thing to a meta deck I faced in mid ladder. It's a modified, as you can say, it's a modified logbait deck, where instead of the ice spirit he has arrows, which essentially is quite bad for me, because well, arrows just fully counter my archers. This guy is under leveled. He has only level 12 king tower, but all of his cards are level 14. So it's not that big of a deal. And I just went for an offensive Xbow, just to, sometimes I like to do this play where I'll just play an offensive Xbow and just one cycle card in front of it, to just check out what my opponent has. And yeah, as I told you, in mid ladder, you can never really know the decks, and it's imperative for when you're running Xbow, you need to know what deck your opponent has, what cards he has, and essentially what cycle they are at. So now I know a bit about his deck. I still did not know he had arrows, I guess. So I just pressured with my Xbow and Tesla. I ignored the entire Goblin barrel, which in hindsight I should not have, when I had the login cycle. But yeah, I knew he had an Inferno, so I held my knight. I sadly did not have skeletons in cycle, so I had to play an Ice Spirit to keep my knight alive. And yeah, I should not have logged the Goblin gang, because my Tesla was alive and it would have taken out the spear goblins. But just like that, I got all the damage I needed to win the game. And honestly, this is probably going to be a bit boring for you guys to analyze, because I'm always essentially going in hard in the single elixir and getting in a lot of damage advantage, and just defending everything that my opponent is throwing at me. And yeah, defensive Xbow, because honestly, defensive Xbow, whenever he has princess, whenever the opponent has princess in their deck, because honestly that's a very annoying card. I can never catch the princess, I can never essentially count cycles as effectively as I should. So defensive Xbow puts in a lot of work, and he just chose to rocket my archers. I mean, granted he is quite behind in damage, but I'll just fireball in response. And I honestly could, that lock could have been a bit better. I could have taken the goblin barrel and the princess out. But yeah, just look at that, guys. The princess had 3 shots on my tower, and I couldn't really do anything about it. It's very annoying for me to face, and I knew he had a princess in cycle this time, so I just went with a defensive Xbow, because he honestly has to either rocket out my Xbow or rocket out my tower. He chooses to rocket out my tower because again he is only 10 seconds left and I got his tower, but he's, although he has 3 spells, he cannot really break through. And I just Tesla like this to predict his princess, because again guys, princess at the bridge is really annoying, and we just take the easy win. Okay, on to the last replay. This guy was running Hog Freeze, and Freeze is a very cheeky card which essentially can lose you a winning game, like just like that. And this guy did not play his freezes well, because honestly you should only play freeze once or maximum twice in a game, because the entire concept of freeze depends on you surprising and tricking your opponents, that yes, your opponent doesn't really know you have a freeze, and suddenly they think your hog rider is defended, but they just go for the freeze and your entire hog takes the tower. But this guy just went freeze with his hog first play, and now since I know he has a freeze, I'll always be ready for it, because I know he'll be using his freeze to get a lot of damage. So I'll just keep something in hand like archers or even skeletons or log to counter him. And yeah, I just pressure with an Xbow, because I knew he overcommitted by a lot with his freeze, and activate my king tower. Like, you guys see this guy, right? Like he's just spamming on the bridge and everything. I just give him the thanks also. Like, that's one thing you should never do, is put your firecracker at the bridge. Like, that's supposed to be a given thing, because I am going to activate my king tower with your firecracker, and probably my guy doesn't understand that. So I am in a elixir deficit, but again this guy is just spamming everything on the bridge. And he again, my ice spirit could have been timed better, because I knew he was about to freeze, but I still pressed my ice spirit, and I had, for that reason I had to place my knight down, otherwise those 2 minions would have just went ham on my tower. So yeah, and again I know what this guy has, so I'm just going to go Xbow opposite lane, and I know he has Valkyrie cycle, so I'm going to place my archers like this, so the Val kites over, and place my ice spirit. And yeah, he cannot really get anything down, because he's just kept on spamming his entire elixir bar. I could have fireballed these 2 minions, but again that would be exactly what he's doing, and just overcommitting by a lot. So I just set up with an Tesla, because I knew he was going to go hog, because that's what he's been doing the entire game, right? And again pressure with an Xbow. This was the first time he played the Mega Knight. If I knew he had the Mega Knight, I honestly wouldn't have went for the Evo Skellies. But yeah, he froze, he defensively froze, and that's when your opponent has to freeze defensively. It's never a good sign. It's never a good sign for them, of course. It's definitely a good sign for you. And just like that, we got a lot of damage with our Xbow, and I'm again going to pressure with an Xbow, because I know his cycle. I know he does not have enough for a Mega Knight, and just like that I kept my log ready for it. I knew he had to play his Karmi, and he again had to freeze defensively, but my Xbow still locked on, and I'm just going to get the easy win. I hope you guys enjoyed this long format of video. If you do,